Hey everyone, let's sit together, grab some coffee and talk about the cloud. In today's video we are going to talk about Excel as a spreadsheet manager for managing your business data and workflows and how this can be automated in a more elegant way. I wanted to make this video because recently I was approached by someone close to me and they are working in their company a lot with Excel. And he was facing a lot of problems because they had to manually update their Excel sheets many times because they used them for planning. And if, for example, some of their colleagues were sick, they had to manually handle that, and this ended up in a nightmare. He even said that they were about to hire someone who is only there for managing their central Excel datasheet. To avoid this problem, he asked me whether there is a possibility to add some automation on top of their Excel workflow. I then did some research and found a cool way that many people are using when it comes to managing their data in their company in a serverless fashion. But first, let's talk about why we would like to move away from Excel as our central data management and workflow planning tool. As in the example of my friend that I mentioned, they are working on one central Excel sheet which is made for planning and organizing data, and this file is located somewhere centrally in their company. Which means when many people want to access this file simultaneously, this can lead to problems because people are updating their data simultaneously. Someone is making a mistake, want to revert their mistake. This is not possible because they might revert changes that another person made. This can really end up in a mess. So as you can see here in this example, when you try to access data simultaneously, if you want to work on data simultaneously, you have to be very careful to not make errors. And then also you have to be careful to revert those errors in a good and maintained way. You could maybe think about having one central Excel sheet which is laying somewhere, and then every employee in the team has their own version which they are fiddling around with to make their changes, and then only move their changes, which they think are good ones, to the central data sheet. However, in that case, after updating the data in the central data sheet, they have to notify every other of their colleagues that they made a change such that they can take the changes from the central Excel sheet and put it into their local version. As you can see, this is also very involved and is not really efficient, especially because it could be that you might not be able to reach one of your colleagues because right now they are on a sick leave or on a vacation, and this will lead to strong inconsistencies among different versions of the same planning file. A third big issue which arises from that is that there is no automated notification or other business logic that comes on top of that. This means that when you manually update something in your central spreadsheet, in your local version or wherever, you always have to notify people like in Teams, via email or whichever. You might be able to create some automations with tools such as Microsoft Power Automate, but those automations would just be a workaround than rather a stable solution, because as soon as your team grows, those automations might not be as scalable as they should be. So as you can see, managing your critical data only in Excel spreadsheets with several teams and several colleagues is not very recommendable. It's very tedious, it's error prone, and it can only be organized with very strict organizational guidelines where you have to train your employees to really follow those guidelines. Still, errors might happen. Then I did some research on how to automate this kind of workflows and replacing Excel with something which is more serverless and more suitable for those kind of central team collaboration workflows. Indeed, there are possibilities, and we are going to look at that right now. Here I'm going to show you an example architecture, how you could create a serverless solution which is still very close to your Excel-like workflow that most of the employees might be used to. First, what you need is a front end, and this might also be the most scary part because you might not have the resources or the people in the team to realize a front end that you can actually use, because it might be very involved to hire a developer to create a front end which basically replicates what you're already used to when you're using tools like Excel. However, here you can use simple no-code or low-code applications which give you the opportunity to create simple dashboards or application UIs that you can use to manage your data. Examples that I found for this are AppSmith, Buddybase, and Retool, but I'm sure there are many more of those. When I did research, I a little bit checked AppSmith, and to me it looked like it's quite easy to set those up. Those low-code, no-code UI creation tools are exactly made for those situations where you want to create a UI without hiring who is a full-fledged front-end developer. In this way, you can save resources and cost for your team and still achieve what you want in the end. You can host this web front end in any cloud provider such as AWS or Google Cloud, in a container runtime such as AWS Elastic Container Service or Google Cloud Run. You can make your application available via a load balancer which sits in your private network in the cloud. In this way, you can also make user pools available to store credentials of your colleagues securely. While the UI is only there to visualize their data and to interact with your data, you also need a central place where you store your actual data. This is something we haven't talked about, and this is what we are going to look at now. To realize that, what you could do is take your spreadsheet data, put them to tables, and take those tables and migrate them to databases which use the SQL language. There are managed services for that in the clouds, such as AWS RDS, which is the SQL managed service in the AWS cloud, or Google Cloud SQL, which is the corresponding service in the Google Cloud. Here you have the advantage that you moved your data in a central database, which is backed up. You have point-in-time recovery, which makes it possible to revert changes that have been done before. It is served in the cloud with a high availability setup, which means it's scalable as your team grows. And you don't have to care about local versions anymore because it's in one central place that is available in time for any colleague and can be updated simultaneously. So you have to imagine that you are taking your front-end UI, which you're hosting in AppSmith, Retool, or Buddybase, and this UI is then used for interacting with your data in SQL. In that way, you are creating a very lightweight and scalable Excel-like solution for what you were struggling with before. The cool thing now is that since you have everything hosted in the cloud based on a centralized service, you can put other services on top. Event-driven and serverless functions can be easily put on top, such as email notifications if rows in your database are changing, notification schedules based on timestamps are available, you can do automated backups based on a certain timestamp, and so on and so forth. You can really get creative when it comes to the business logic that your business needs and put it on top of this very lightweight solution. Since you're having this solution running in the cloud, you are first of all scalable, since your container runtime, which is running your UI, can scale with the amount of people actually accessing your UI. Your database, which is running in the background, has a high availability setup and can also scale based on the workload which is coming to the database. And additionally, you have scaling in the network because you have load balancers and everything in front. You have automation, which makes everything smooth and easy and can remove much of the hassle of manual notifications. People get automated emails. Even when they are on vacation, they will get their emails. You don't have to worry about whether you can catch them or not, and you can really control what's going on. And in the last part, the highest cost point will be the SQL database which you are running and the UI. However, when it comes to the business automation, you will only pay for what you are actually using, and it is scaling and growing with your business, which means as soon as you have set up such kind of an architecture, you don't have to worry about it anymore. The more people will access it, the more the data will be, it will scale and grow automatically. So with this solution, you don't have to worry about the Excel shortcomings anymore, and you can just simply concentrate on your business. If you have other ideas or suggestions you can put on such kind of an architecture, I'm very happy to hear and discuss about that in the comments, because this is just one solution that I found and thought might be useful for people. And if you have more insights on that, I would be very happy to hear them. That's it for today's video. If you're interested in the cloud, infrastructure as code, DevOps as a concept, and everything which has to do with automation and technology, I would be happy if you follow this channel, leave a like and subscribe, and see you in the next video when we are talking about the cloud and drinking some coffee. Bye!